Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You know that moment in prayer when you suddenly freeze and think, wait, was that the third or fourth rak'ah? Did you forget ruku'? The Prophet ﷺ revealed a merciful solution called Sujood As-Sahw, the prostration of forgetfulness. What is it, and how do you use it without breaking your prayer or losing focus?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Here's what's beautiful. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ experienced this himself. He forgot during prayer. He made mistakes, and he showed us exactly how to handle it with grace and humility.
Wait, the Prophet himself forgot?
Yes. There's a powerful hadith where he led the companions in prayer, and afterward, someone named Dhul Yadayn asked him, "Did you forget, or was the prayer shortened?" The Prophet responded that he had neither forgotten nor shortened it. He was acting on what he was certain about. Then, when the companions confirmed the mistake, he completed the prayer and performed 2 prostrations.
So this wasn't just theoretical guidance, he lived it.
Exactly, and that's the mercy in it. Allah could have made the Prophet infallible in every action, but by allowing this to happen, he gave us a roadmap. He normalized human forgetfulness and gave us a solution. Sujood, As-Sahw, the prostration of forgetfulness.
Let's break that down. What exactly is Sujood As-Sahw?
It's performing 2 additional prostrations to compensate for errors that occur during prayer. According to the hadith of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, it's obligatory when certain mistakes happen. Think of it as a spiritual correction tool, a way to perfect our prayer even when we stumble.
So when is Sujood As-Sahw actually needed? That's where most confusion arises.
Great question. There are 3 main situations. First, when you add something to the prayer, like praying 5 rak'ahs instead of 4. Second, when you decrease something, like forgetting to sit for the first tashahhud. And third, when you're genuinely uncertain about how many rak'ahs you've prayed.
Let's start with that last one, because I think it's the most common. You're in prayer, and suddenly you can't remember. Was that 2 or 3?
This is where the Prophet's guidance is so practical. In a hadith narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he taught us to ignore the doubt and build on what we're certain about. So if you're unsure whether you prayed 3 or 4, ask yourself, what am I certain of? If you're certain you prayed at least 3, then assume 3, complete the 4th, and perform Sujood As-Sahw.
So we always go with the lower number?
When there's genuine doubt, yes. But here's an important distinction some scholars make. If you're leaning toward one side, like you're pretty sure it was 3 but not completely certain, some scholars say you should go with what you believe is more likely, complete the prayer, and then do the prostration after the Salam.
After the Salam? I thought it was always before.
That's the nuance. The timing actually depends on the type of mistake. According to the Maliki, Shafi'i, and one opinion from the Hanbali school, if you added something to the prayer, you prostrate after the Salam. If you decreased something, you prostrate before the Salam.
Can you give us a concrete example of adding something?
Sure. There's a hadith where the Prophet prayed 5 rak'ahs for dhuhr instead of 4. After he finished and gave salam, the companions told him about the extra rak'ah. He then performed 2 prostrations after the salam. This teaches us that when we've added to the prayer, the correction comes after we've concluded it.
That makes sense. And what about decreasing, leaving something out?
There's a beautiful example in the hadith of Abdullah bin Buhayna. The Prophet stood up after the 2nd rak'ah without sitting for the tashahhud. The companions tried to signal him, but he continued. At the end, before giving salam, he performed 2 prostrations. This shows that when we've left something out, we correct it before concluding the prayer.
So it's almost like if you added something, you're acknowledging it after the fact. But if you left something out, you're filling that gap before you finish.
That's a beautiful way to understand it. And there's spiritual wisdom here too. When the Prophet was asked about these prostrations, he said they serve to frustrate the devil's attempts to create doubt during prayer. Shaitan wants to distract us, make us anxious, make us feel like our prayer is invalid. These prostrations reclaim our prayer from that whisper.
Speaking of whispers, Waswasa, what about people who constantly doubt their prayer? Like, they finish and immediately think, did I do that right? Should I repeat it?
This is crucial. The four imams agreed that someone suffering from chronic waswasa should not prostrate for every doubt. If you're someone who always questions your prayer, you need to recognize that as a pattern and resist it. The prostration is for genuine, occasional forgetfulness, not for obsessive doubt.
So there's a difference between human forgetfulness and obsessive whispers.
Exactly. The Prophet said, if one of you doubts during prayer, let him seek the truth and build upon it, then prostrate twice. The key word is seek the truth. Make a reasonable assessment and move forward. Don't let prayer become a source of anxiety.
What about the actual procedure? How do we perform these prostrations?
It's simple. You perform 2 prostrations just like the regular prostrations in prayer. The scholars agree you say Allahu Akbar when going down and when rising. According to the Maliki and Shafi'i schools, along with Ibn Taymiyyah's opinion, you don't need to recite the tashahhud again after these prostrations. You simply give salam.
And this applies whether you're praying alone or following an imam.
Yes, if you're praying alone and you make a mistake, you handle it yourself. If you're following an imam and the imam makes a mistake, you follow his correction. The principle applies to both the individual and the congregation.
Here's something often overlooked. Sujood As-Sahw is rarely seen performed in congregational prayers. Why is that?
You've touched on something important. This practice has become neglected in many communities. Imams may not be performing it, and when they don't, the congregation doesn't learn it. It becomes unfamiliar. And then when someone does it, people think it's strange or wrong.
So it's a cycle of unfamiliarity.
Exactly. And this is a call to action for imams and students of knowledge. We need to revive this sunnah. When mistakes happen, and they will, we should model the Prophet's example openly. This normalizes it and teaches the community.
Because ultimately, hiding our mistakes doesn't make us better Muslims.
Right. The Prophet could have hidden his forgetfulness, but he didn't. He corrected it publicly, teaching us that perfection isn't the goal. Sincerity and correction are.
Let's talk about something practical. What if someone doesn't know whether to prostrate before or after Salam? What should they do?
Ibn Taymiyyah emphasized that we should follow the Prophet's example as closely as possible. If you know the type of mistake, follow the appropriate timing. But if you're genuinely unsure, most scholars say it's safer to prostrate before the Salam, as this is the more common position in the hadith literature.
And if someone forgets to do Sujood As-Sahw entirely?
If you remember shortly after, like within a few minutes, you can still perform it. But if significant time has passed or you've left the prayer space, most scholars say the prayer is still valid. The prostration is a correction, but its absence doesn't invalidate the prayer if the core elements were fulfilled.
That's reassuring. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the technicalities that we forget the bigger picture.
And what's the bigger picture? That Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful. He gave us this tool not to burden us, but to perfect our connection with Him. Every time we perform Sujood As-Sahw, we're acknowledging our humanity while striving for excellence in worship.
It's like a reset button.
Beautiful analogy. It's a reset button that reminds us you're human, you'll make mistakes, and that's okay. What matters is that you care enough to correct them.
This reveals Allah's mercy. Prayer isn't so rigid that one mistake ruins everything. There's a built-in correction mechanism.
And not just any correction. One the Prophet ﷺ demonstrated himself. When performing Sujood As-Sahw, we follow his example in our most intimate moments with Allah.
So the takeaway, assess what happened. Did you add, decrease, or doubt? Apply the appropriate correction. This isn't about perfection, it's about sincerity and following through.
Exactly. Learn this properly so you can guide others. This knowledge is an amana, a trust. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Pray as you have seen me pray." That includes the mistakes and corrections. The next time doubt arises in prayer, remember the Prophet forgot to, and he showed what to do about it.
May Allah accept our prayers, perfect our worship, and help us embody the humility and grace of the Prophet ﷺ. Share this with those who need to hear it.